Welcome to the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts,
Jon Helmkamp,
Matthew Betz, and Matt Okada.
Hello and welcome back to the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast. Matthew Betz, Matt Okada, Jon Helmkamp. We got the trio back. Last episode, I don't even know what words to use to describe what happened, but unfortunately Jon wasn't with us. I had internet issues. We had Mike Wright and Jason Moore from the Fantasy Footballers on the show. Our internet got disconnected and people were in different spots on the screen. And if you're on YouTube, you saw it. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you're doing it wrong. What a show that was. We talked bold predictions. Jon, we missed you, buddy. How's your week going so far?
Well, I was sitting in my office doing work while you two hooligans were talking with two just absolutely incredible guys, two of the three from the Fantasy Footballers. I mean, big shots in this industry, absolutely amazing people. Bummed that I wasn't able to be a part of it. They're fantastic. So I am really happy that you guys got to, though. I mean, that's awesome and great for our listeners and viewers, and just kind of pissed I wasn't there. It sucks. Really a bummer that I wasn't a part of it.
Kind of pissed off.
Yep.
Well,
sounds great. Kind of pissed, just a little.
We will definitely have to do it again, and we'll make sure we plan around your schedule for sure. But man, we got the band back together tonight. If you're listening in your podcast app, it is Friday. Happy weekend to all of you out there. Okada, of course, is rocking the bro tank on YouTube and the backwards hat as per usual. Tonight's podcast is going to be our first of several shows looking at our top 12 and really top 24. So quarterback 1, quarterback 2, running back 1, running back 2, et cetera, shows. We're starting with the quarterback position tonight, and I'm really excited to break that down for our rankings, which guys, let's set a date. What do you think? Like next Monday, all rankings live on the site? Can we do it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I can do
all right. Let's
preliminary, because I have not completed my projections, which will affect rankings, but preliminary.
Yes. We will get those up on the site. But for tonight, we have your top 12 quarterbacks. Before we get into that, just a reminder, check out the website, guys. We have our writing staff. They've been crushing it this past week. So many good articles going up there. We had Cam's article up today looking at projecting the top 6 wide receivers from last year. What are they going to do in 2020? Of course, you'll be able to find our rankings there on Monday. All that good stuff. Find that there. Fellas, before we get into the content of tonight's show, typically we'll do some news, but there really hasn't been much going on. So we're going to start actually with a review from a listener on Apple Podcasts. Ooh. Shout out to listeners leaving those reviews, man. Really do appreciate it. Shout out to Mr. Bump-a-Dump. I mean, I don't even think I have to read the review. Like, that's just perfect right there.
Ridiculous.
He left us a 5-star review. The title is Fantastic Fantasy Football. He says, definitely a knowledgeable group of guys with a really entertaining structure and combination of personalities. Highly recommend. So shout out to Mr. Bump-a-Dump. We do appreciate you reviewing the show. If you would
shout out to Mr. Bump-a-Dump. I love it.
Oh, I really want to know like the story behind that. Like,
yeah, whoever you are.
If you're on Twitter, Mr. Bump-a-Dump, please at us. We need the backstory.
Let us know
for that name.
Or hop in that Patreon Slack channel. Maybe you're already there. Maybe it's one of our patrons. We don't even know.
It could be. True. It could be.
Either way, let us know because that is too good to pass up for sure. Also, last reminder, the Davante Adams jersey giveaway has ended. We will announce that winner soon. Probably in one of our shows next week. So stay tuned for that. We had like over 500 total entries. So really excited to give that out. Unfortunately, it's sitting in a box right next to me right now, but I have to mail it out, give it away. Very sad. All right, fellas.
You know what else is unfortunate, Betz? Is that only one person is going to win it.
I know.
It's kind of sad. Like all these lovely people.
Cut it up into little different squares or something.
That might be.
Probably don't do that.
It might be a little bit upsetting to some.
Who's going to get the D from Devontae?
Yeah, that's the important part.
That little piece. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
and the signature is important.
Obviously. All right, boys. We are into the top 12 quarterback rankings redraft again. We've talked about Dynasty a lot this offseason. You can find our Dynasty rankings already on the site. For redraft, our top quarterback consensus, this is not shared by all of us, is Mr. Patrick Mahomes. He is currently going in ADP as the quarterback 2. Okada and John have him at 1. I have him at 2.
Oh my
gosh. Let's chat about Pat Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, because spoiler alert, he's our 2. What is your consensus, you two, as far as ranking him over Lamar Jackson?
Well, for me, it's actually kind of easy because I have him 2 spots above Lamar Jackson. Interesting. We'll get to maybe why and who that is. But listen, it comes down to basically this. Lamar Jackson got a QB1 finish and an MVP award based off of a record-setting rushing season. Did he lead the NFL in passing touchdowns? Yes. Did he lead the NFL in passing touchdowns with a relatively low number for that accomplishment? Yes. And it was on a touchdown rate that was obscenely high.
9.
And we've talked 9%.
9%.
Yeah.
Unreal.
That's well above elite career numbers. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers is somewhere in the mid-5s, and he is one of the best touchdown rates ever. And that's even high for like a really good season touchdown rate. So that's going to come down. I don't think they're going to increase volume from a passing perspective. The defense is still solid. The run game is still just as good, if not better. They've added J.K. Dobbins, so that's a high-end young running back to go with Mark Ingram and even Gus Edwards, who was productive. There's really no reason for them to lean more on Lamar Jackson's arm. If anything, there might be a reason to lean less on his arm. And with his rushing numbers coming down as well, I just don't see the passing output being enough to keep up with Mahomes or even the second guy on my list. And I think he's still going to be elite, no question, but not quite where he was last year.
Yeah, last year was a perfect storm outlier season in every category that you can imagine for him. Over 1,000 rushing yards, touchdown percentage of 9. I mean, 9 is so stupid high. Like, Patrick Mahomes, I think, was in like the low 7s this season 2 years ago when he was the MVP, if I remember correctly. Like 7.2, right. 7.4, something like that.
I can and then right quick.
Yeah, go do that, Mr. Researcher. And then for Lamar Jackson to throw for 9%, it's like, dude, that is unheard of. And maybe that has to do with his rushing ability. Maybe that's the defense is just cluing so hard on that it does open it up for him. And maybe he just will be one of those quarterbacks that has a little bit of a higher statistical output in that regard. That said, it's bound to regress. His rushing is bound to regress. Defenses are going to scheme for it. They're going to figure out a way to slow it down. He's still going to be elite as a running quarterback. Absolutely. Like, no doubt about it. He will almost, by all accounts, lead the NFL quarterbacks in rushing yards again. I just don't think it's going to be over 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. That's unheard of. What he did last year was unheard of. So, yeah, I haven't taken a little bit of a step down. Patrick Mahomes was banged up last year, injured, that really scary knee injury where people thought, oh no, his season might be done. He managed to come back in like 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it was. So 2 years ago, we saw Patrick Mahomes just absolutely lighting the world on fire. Last year, we had him being injured, Tyreek Hill being injured, and he still put out great production. So for me, I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a statistical bounce back in what he does on the football field. I think that he is the safest quarterback to finish inside the top 3 of any quarterback. And it's really hard to ask someone to be the number 1 fantasy quarterback. But in terms of range of outcomes, I feel like his is less and higher than what Lamar Jackson could be. Because if Lamar Jackson's rushing is severely curtailed, if defenses really are able to slow that aspect down, then I feel like there's a really realistic possibility that Lamar Jackson's floor could be, out of the top 5, where I don't think that Patrick Mahomes in a full healthy season finishes outside the top 5 with the weapons he has around him.
As a note, Mahomes that season was an 8.6, so actually still very high.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that's important to note because he's not going to reach that mark most likely again maybe ever. Certainly not consistently, because that was crazy high. And for Lamar Jackson's 9, by the way, only 3 seasons in the last 40 years by a quarterback to hit like a qualified pass attempts minimum to get a 9 or higher touchdown rate in a season. The others are Rodgers and Manning. So that's not going to happen a lot, if ever.
Yeah, that's absurd. And I definitely agree with everything you guys are saying. Regression is coming. It happens every year. Okada said, if you want to be good at fantasy football, just understand averages, medians, regression, and you'll be fine. You can just end the podcast. No, don't end the podcast. Keep listening. And that's what's happening with Lamar Jackson. But even if he regresses 300, 400 yards, 500 rushing yards, it's still just insane. So that's why I have him at 1. It's just so safe. Am I ever going to draft him as my first quarterback? No, because his ADP is way too high. So I'm definitely with you guys on that. Yeah, he's going to be a top 3 option for sure. I just have him at 1. You guys have him a little bit lower. Still going to be a fantastic option. I just want to point out real quick, I did a research project last week for the Ballers looking at the effective rushing quarterbacks in fantasy. And I found over a 4-year sample size, going back to 2015, the minimum that a quarterback had to get on average to attain a top 12 season was 273. Lamar Jackson ran for almost 1,200 yards last year. It is unreal. So he is as safe as it comes at the quarterback position. Definitely agree with that. And like you guys said with Patrick Mahomes, the dude's the best quarterback in the NFL, I think, at this point. Fantastic weapons. And oh, by the way, he just added Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield. So
yeah, he
yes,
did.
please. Like that a lot. All right, boys. You don't even need to listen to the podcast. Like 1 and 2, every single person in the industry, except for Okada, top 2 quarterbacks are Lamar and Pat Mahomes. However, Dak Prescott comes in at number 3 in our consensus ranks. He is the ADP quarterback 4 off the board. Okada, I'm going to kick it over to you, man. You've got Dak as your 2 this year, just ahead of me and John.
Yeah, listen, guys. Dak Prescott threw for 4,900 yards and 30 touchdowns last year. Okay, I'm pretty sure that was second in both categories. Okay,
I knew that was
and
coming.
And that was his 4th season. He is still only 26. This is a guy who is potentially going to get better, and that was without adding CeeDee Lamb and moving away from Jason Witten, who, while a GOAT and pretty decent at moving the chains, was an old geezer that is never going to give you any explosiveness. I think losing those targets and giving them to somebody else with a little bit more ability is actually going to be good for Dak Prescott. And, of course, he added CeeDee Lamb. He gets another year in this kind of new budding system. He is going to destroy the National Football League. He has probably inarguably the best wide receiver core, maybe not overall core, because like the Chiefs have Kelsey. That certainly helps if you include tight ends and running backs, although Zeke very good as well. But just straight wide receivers, Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, already arguably the best duo, maybe besides the Bucks duo. And then you add in CeeDee Lamb. That's a guy who could be a wide receiver 1 on a National Football League team within the next couple of years, and he's their 3. Insane weaponry. And Zeke showed last year that he can also be incredibly effective as well. So one of the reasons, by the way, that I didn't mention that I went with Mahomes over Lamar is the weaponry. It is night and day for those 2 quarterbacks. Dak's weaponry falls much closer to Mahomes's than Lamar's.
It does.
And I don't see any way that with his production last year, another year in this offense, the addition of more weapons, that he's not one of the most productive guys in the entire league. I could easily see him topping 5,000 and maybe encroaching on 40 touchdowns. 35 plus would certainly not surprise me. And with those kinds of numbers, and he by the way puts up a good amount of rushing touchdowns. Like between him and Lamar, I don't know who's going to have more rushing touchdowns. Clearly, Lamar's going to have more yards, but those rushing touchdowns are an extra little boost. If you want to go with Lamar over Dak, I do not fault it at all. That makes plenty of sense. This might be a little bit hot takey for me, but I just think the reliability you're going to get at Dak is so incredibly high, and the upside is so incredibly high that he's my 2.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say at their ADP, I think we all agree it's not really a question, right? Like you'd rather have Dak 2 or 3 rounds later than Lamar. So with that consideration, easily. I'm with you on that. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, Dak is my 3 for all the reasons that you just said, Okada. Yeah, he was dang near 5,000 yards last year, and now they add CeeDee Lamb into the fold. I mean, this this offense is ridiculous. We've been talking about it all off season. During the NFL draft, we're sitting there, Betz and I'm watching the screen. Jerry Jones is alone in his yacht deciding what's going to happen. And I'm going, what if he goes CD? Like, what if he goes CD Lamb here? I could see it happening because guess what? He told everyone else to stay away from him. All the scouts, don't bother me when I'm on the clock, was what he said. And he did. He went out and got CD Lamb. Oh, and they gave him number 88, just for the record. But yeah, number 88 is going to be involved in the offense. You don't give a wide receiver number 88 in Dallas if he's going to be taking a back seat, just for the record. But yes, this offense is going to be scary. They have a top 3 talent running back. They have probably the best wide receiver core in the game. They have a very good offensive line. Granted, Travis Frederick's retired, but that line is still very solid. This offense is going to be scary. If the defense can play, this is going to be a team that has the potential to win 12-plus games. Like, they're good. They're really good. If the defense sucks, then they could be 8-8 again. But if the defense can actually hold up, but we're not here to talk about defense. But I think that Dak has an incredible ceiling. Man, 35 to 40 touchdowns is hot. Like, that's spicy, that's Okada. It's hot.
That's
but
so
it
hot
could
right
happen. Now. So hot right now. You got to get that on a drop. I'm serious.
We seriously do.
You really do. But I could see it happening. It's potential. I just think that the rushing of Lamar is going to outpace it. But I think that these 3 quarterbacks have established themselves, in my opinion, of being a tier unto themselves right now in fantasy football. I think that you can't say it's just Mahomes and Lamar and then tier break. I think Dak is right there for what we saw from him last year, as much as he's progressed and the weapons that they've got around him now with adding CD Lamb into the fold. It's scary good. It's really good.
It's just silly. Like, they went from Randall Cobb to CD Lamb. They went from Jason Witten, who blade hands in the booth, to Blake Jarwin, a young athletic tight end. Like, everything got better for Dak. Oh, and by the way, you mentioned defense doesn't matter. They got worse. Lost Byron Jones, lost some pieces on the defensive line. I do think Dak is in for a massive season. John, you and I are doing a Scott Fishbowl mock draft. I took Dak at 10th overall in the draft at Superflex. I took Dak. I think he's in for a huge season. I've got him at 3. Guys,
I have no problem
Mike McCarthy.
First round.
Mike McCarthy is going to be very good for Dak, and here's why. His offenses, when he has been a head coach or an offensive coordinator in the NFL, it's been a total of 19 seasons. 16 of 19 seasons, his offenses have ranked in the top half of the league in passing yards. Ooh-wee. It's going to be good for Dak this year. So I agree. I think he's in that tier. I agree with you guys with Mahomes and Lamar. So obviously we all love Dak on this show. All right, boys, on to our 4th quarterback. Okada, brace yourself.
Oh, boy.
It is the man. Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray at the ADP of 3. So I guess it's one spot. We're behind consensus, so to speak, on Kyler Murray, but we all still love the dude. Was quarterback 7 or 8, depending on your scoring system last year. And he just added DeAndre Hopkins, guys. What is the ceiling, would you guys say, quarterback 1 overall in fantasy? Does Kyler have that ceiling this year? What are your thoughts?
Yes.
Oh, this year? I don't think this year.
This year.
I don't think this year.
He has it this year. Here's the thing. He has the throwing ability and close to the weaponry of Dak. Close to it. Like, Hopkins is better than Cooper. Yeah. And between Larry, Fitz, and Kirk, you get something like a Gallup plus CeeDee Lamb. Not quite, probably. But maybe the little gap there is made up for by Hopkins over Cooper, because that's a pretty big gap in my opinion.
That is, yeah.
And then he has just as good a pass-catching running back. Arguably, of course, well, not arguably. Zeke is a better overall running back and running talent than Kenyon Drake. But from a pass-catching perspective, Kenyon Drake is very, very good. Kingsbury's offense is going to be very nice. Their defense is probably pretty much the same, pretty not comparable, good. If not a little bit worse. So, yeah, than the Cowboys.
Isaiah Simmons does a little something.
That's going to be fun.
He's a beast.
I forgot about that, yeah. I think he's going to be the best pick of the draft, potentially.
Defensive rookie of the year, in my opinion, Isaiah Simmons.
I
don't think it's Chase Young, it's Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, easy clap.
Maybe I'll put that in a Betz.
Do it. Throw it on there
for the Patreon crew.
So you get that, you get all that Dak stuff, and then you get rushing ability that, if fully unlocked, will be the the closest to Lamar, the second best in the league. So you get the Dak type passing, you get the Lamar-ish rushing, maybe a little less than both, but put them both together, and you get a combo that the other three guys maybe don't quite have. And that I think gives you QB1 upside. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's there.
Okay, I'll say that it's within the realm of possibility. I'd put it as slight, but it's there because I agree. I love Kyler. I love everything about him. He still is a little bit.
Do you love his height?
Give a flying about it. I don't care. I just don't care. I don't care at all.
What is
my quarterback's Russell Wilson? I don't care about hand size and height. I just no.
Suck it, NFL draft pundits.
Yeah,
it's the dumbest thing, dude. People actually really measure people's hand
size season. Let's go.
Like what?
It's a good thing he plays in the desert and in a dome instead of in the AFC North, because of his hand size, I don't care. So I agree. I love Kyler. Kyler to me, well, and here's the thing. Kyler Murray is, and I've said this before, Kyler Murray is Russell Wilson in a better offense. He is like, they have the same game. They both have the baseball background. Every once in a while, Kyler will sit back there and he's kind of surveying and just kind of ad-libbing. And then you get that little like infielder just like flick of the ball. Like I can't remember the game that this clip was from, but there's one in particular where he's back there. He like scrambles right, scrambles back left, like spins around. I'm like, oh, that looks like Russ. Like I've seen that before.
Classic Russ.
I've seen that play. And he scrambles back, flips his hips back around, and he's just sitting there, like holding the ball like kind of low, finds his guy and just like this flick, like an infielder on a rope and on a dime hits. I want to say it was Kirk coming across the middle. Like it was just fantastic. That athleticism, that baseball background, I love for quarterbacks. We're seeing it a lot. Translating Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes has baseball background as well. So as a pure passer, I think he's incredible. I think his accuracy is great. It's going to be even better in his second year when the processing is starting to like speed up and he's understanding the language and the scheme and all that. He's great. He's going to be phenomenal. It's not hard to imagine him taking a step forward. We expect him to. This is not a quarterback that needs to take a massive step forward. Like people are talking about Drew Lock for MVP. Like it's not that. He was already there. Like Kyler was already a quarterback one who just needs a little bit more polish in a second season to really like take a legitimate expected step. Oh, and they give him DeAndre Hopkins. So yes, Kyler Murray, total beast. 500 plus rushing yards, I think easy. I would expect that to be what he puts up. And if the offense can kick it into high gear with Kenyon Drake and DeAndre Hopkins leading the way, it could be scary. It could be a really potent offense.
Yeah, for sure. And just speaking to the rushing too, we talked about it, I think, 3 or 4 shows ago. But looking at his fantasy finish week by week, week 12 was their bye. I believe off the top of my head, he either picked up the hamstring injury week 13 or 14. But if you look at his finishes, quarterback 20, quarterback 25, 17, 20, 18 in the final month of the season when he was injured. So the other months of the season and the other weeks, he's top 10 almost every single week when he's healthy, when he's mobile, when he's rushing. So if that's there, it's guaranteed he's going to finish top 10 every single week. Yes, I think he has the overall one upside if DeAndre Hopkins and he can kind of get on the same page and truly mesh. We see what he does for Deshaun Watson and what he's done with other quarterbacks. And now you have Kyler's arm plus that. Yeah, I think he's going to be an absolute stud this season.
Yeah, and
boys.
Quickly to give you an idea of how much that rushing matters, by the way, Baker Mayfield in his rookie season 2 years ago set the rookie touchdown record, if you remember, with 27. Had a good year passing and missed 2 games, but was still the QB 16 as a rookie, and that was impressive. Kyler was a QB 7 as a rookie. It's insane. That the upside and the floor that rushing brings is going to be bonkers if it all comes online. So, yes, please.
Yep. All right. The next man on this list is the MVP of 2020. It is Russell Wilson.
Right, it is.
The quarterback 6 off the board.
To quote,
I put it out there. Yes. I said it on Twitter. He's my MVP pick this year, and it's all about the rushing attack. If they can't stay moving on the ground, Russ has to take over, and there's legitimate chance that it doesn't happen. Carlos Hyde is not in his prime anymore. The advanced analytics show that. We have Chris Carson coming off of a hip fracture. We have Rashad Penny on PUP. Like, if they can't move the ball on the ground, no matter what Brian Schottenheimer wants to do, the defense isn't great. Sorry, John.
No,
Russ might have to just totally ball out and be like, you know what? This is my team. I'm going to carry this team to the playoffs. On the bold prediction episode, last episode with the Ballers, I said Russell Wilson's going to finish as the quarterback 1 this year in fantasy. I don't have him ranked that point, but I think that is still in the range of outcomes for Russ. I love him this year, especially considering I think relative to these other quarterbacks that we just talked about, I don't think people view Russ as having the ceiling that those guys do. I feel he does have that. So, yeah, I love Russ. I have nothing negative to say about him this season. What are your guys' thoughts?
I will say, for our first potentially point of decent disagreement here, I agree with whoever you just referenced as believing he doesn't have the QB1 season. I don't think he has that. Like, even if he does mostly take over this offense, I don't see him being a 5,000-yard guy. I don't see him being a 40-touchdown guy. I see him being arguably the most consistent quarterback in the league. If I had to bet on someone being a top 5 quarterback, but no higher than 5, like they have to be 5, it would be Russell Wilson without question, because I just know he's going to finish there right at 5. And I feel good about it, and I really like him there. And I have him ranked right at 5, where we have him in consensus. So, listen, he's super safe. He's going to give you great weeks. He's going to give you consistency. I don't think he has the upside. He might beat out a couple of the guys ahead of him if I did think that. I think a couple of guys after him in my rankings do have that upside still. But I still love him, and I still think he could be the MVP.
First off, thank you for closing on the statement that you think he can be the MVP, because in terms of the most valuable player, Russell Wilson
should have won it already.
He should have.
It's amazing.
He's the most valuable player in the NFL.
He should have won it like 4 times already.
Yeah, and he's never even gotten a vote. Crazy.
Yeah, that just don't start. don't start.
I was having a good night, Okada.
It's because he's short, John.
Hey, so am I. F you. Here's the thing. That to me is the most disrespectful. I don't even know if you want to call it a statistic. It's not a statistic. The most disrespectful fact in the NFL currently is that Russell Wilson has not received an MVP vote. Are you effing kidding? If it's not for Russell Wilson, this team already at some point in the last 3 seasons would have been a 2 or 3 win team. The coaching staff would have been fired, and so would Jon Schottenheimer. Everyone, this would have been Russell. No, if something happens to Russ, God forbid, knock on wood, if something happens to Russ, if he's scrambling and one of those big guys lands on his leg wrong, if something happens to Russ, the entire team's getting blown up. Like, the entire team is going to be like, well, okay, I guess we're rebuilding now. It's all gone. We're trading away Bobby Wagner. Schottenheimer is fired easily, first and foremost. Pete probably second. John Schneider's probably on his way out third, because Schneider doesn't know how to draft in the first round to save his effing life. So anyways, there's my tirade.
On the board, man.
Oh, stop it.
You hate to see it.
You do. You really
It's
do.
okay. Betz' team made an equally bad pick, so not worse.
Well,
hey, man, it hurts. It really hurts.
Drafting a 3rd or 4th round linebacker in the first round, that is very punny. Dad joke. Well done. Don't even have a kid yet. The fact that they took a 3rd or 4th round linebacker in the first round with Patrick Queen there, and the Ravens just went, okay, we'll take him. Thanks. With the next pick, and drafted Patrick Queen. Anyways, there's my tirade. But Russell Wilson, to me, if he was in any better scheme, if he had any other coach in the NFC West, he can be the quarterback 1 in fantasy football. Any of the other 3 coaches in the NFC West, Sean McVay, Cliff Kingsbury, and Shanahan, all 3 of them could give Russell Wilson the quarterback 1 fantasy football finish. Pete Carroll and Brian Schottenheimer cannot. They can't give it to him. It's not there. It's not in the cards. I'm with Okada on this, and I'm a Seahawks fan. He's like a top 5 with top 3 ceiling every single year. Like, that's where Russell Wilson finishes. But in terms of straight value, yes, he should be the most valuable player in the NFL because his entire team would collapse if they had any other quarterback in there that they went, I'll tell you what, we're going to run it up the middle. Now you have 2nd and 9. We're going to run it to the outside. Now you have 3rd and 7. Scramble and make something happen. If it's not Russell Wilson, another quarterback's not making it happen other than a few of the other absolute elites. So, yes, for fantasy football, he overcomes the scheme. He overcomes the system. He has very good wide receivers. Now that DK Metcalf is coming into the fold, he has 2 legitimate weapons, and he will continue to run and use his legs, which helps him achieve that top 5 fantasy finish. And he also always manages to score touchdowns at a really high efficiency as well. So he's way better than his scheme and his team should allow him to be. He's great here at the number 5. I don't think he could be the top 3 unless they get an all-new coaching staff.
My only counterpoint to this is that Russ finished as the quarterback 4 last year with the Seahawks literally running the ball as much as they possibly could. If one
they're still going to. They're still going to.
Yeah,
right.
Their running back situation was as bad or worse last year than it was this year.
That's fair. I'm just saying, though, if anything goes wrong with the running attack, Chris Carson goes out, Rashad Penny doesn't come back at all this year.
Go out and
Carlos Hyde.
It went wrong down the stretch, and they were like, I'll tell you what, we're still going to give Travis Homer 22 carries. It doesn't matter who their running back is. They don't care. If there was ever a time for Russ to like win people fantasy championships, it would have been last season, and it didn't happen. And it pissed me off to no end watching them. I was scratching my eyes out down the stretch. I love you. I love you. I love you. But the coaching,
Seahawks banner.
The coaching is just driving me absolutely up the wall.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Well, hey guys, there's only one way to transition to the next quarterback, and that's to talk about Carlos Hyde and the rushing attack, right? I mean, we love 1st and 10, run it, and then 2nd and 8, run it, and then 3rd and 7, like 3rd and 8, figure it out, Deshaun Watson. That's our next quarterback here. We're talking about Bill O'Brien, of course. Man, the best run pass coach in the NFL, in my opinion, is Bill O'Brien. I just don't understand these coaches, man. They're calling so like suboptimal analytics plays. I don't understand. Anyway, Deshaun Watson comes in at quarterback 6 for us. He is going as the quarterback 5 in ADP. We have a little bit of disagreement on this one. John and I are in simpatico at 6.
El
Simpatico at 10.
Yikes.
Tell us, why are you so low on Deshaun Watson?
All right, guys. Here's the situation. Number 1, there's a few guys I had to shove ahead of him. I had Deshaun Watson, I think, at QB 6 or 7 after the Hopkins news dropped. And that was, reactionary. So I thought that was going to be low and I might get him back up. Turns out that's not the case. I thought about it more and more and kept pushing him down and other guys up. Listen, I don't hate Deshaun Watson. I think he's still going to be a good QB1 for you this year. And I will say he's got more talent than maybe half of these guys because he's incredible. He is an extremely elite talent. However, Deshaun Watson has made his money by doing similar things to what John talked about with Russell Wilson, making crazy plays happen that shouldn't happen. We all remember that getting sacked from 2 directions at once in the playoffs last year and staying up
against the Bills,
and making an incredible play. Not to mention the time he got kicked in the eyeball and still
the
threw
eye
a touchdown.
kick. Oh my gosh, he's literally like, "Oh,
yes." However,
ridiculous.
He got most of that success on those broken plays by targeting one DeAndre Hopkins 150 plus times. Okay. Hopkins has not had fewer than 150 targets since 2014 when Deshaun Watson was still at Clemson. What is so funny?
Oh, that's totally saw me. That was great.
You
dropped another. Okay. And I went, and then like bit my tongue.
And I started laughing.
Here's what's going to happen, guys.
Good stuff.
DeAndre Hopkins is gone. He's in Arizona. That's when my boy Kyler Murray is our QB4. Deshaun, these guys' names are too close. Deshaun Watson
Deshaun Hopkins
is going to
My favorite wide
escape
receiver.
a double defender sack. It's going to be incredible. We're all going to be like, oh my gosh, how did he do that again? He's about to throw a touchdown.
And
He's
there's
going to
gonna
look
be no one there.
downfield, and there's no DeAndre Hopkins. There's going to be no either wide open or covered, but still able to make the catch, DeAndre Hopkins. And the other guys who have found success, like Will Fuller and Kiki Cutie, who maybe he could throw the ball to because they were open, they're not going to be as open either because there's no DeAndre Hopkins drawing the top coverage on this team. This is going to be a massive, massive fallout, possibly the biggest fallout of any offseason move or change of any team in the entire league. And it's just going to hurt Watson too much. I still think he's going to be incredible, but I think it's going to drop him down pretty significantly in your fantasy rankings, or it should. Is going to drop him down significantly, and that's why he's down to 10 for me. Is that crazy low? Yes. But I think when you look at the names that I have above him, except for one that I'm going to have to explain and justify, most people could see the arguments pretty easily. So I don't know, guys. Six is going to take a lot with that receiving core.
It is, and this to me, the top 5 is easy. Like, I think we're all in agreement. The top 5 in some order, is set. You can move Dak around. You can move Kyler around. You can maybe make the case that Lamar should be a 3. Russell Wilson pretty much slots in at 5 every single time that you look at this. And starting here is where it really gets intriguing to me, because I was looking at these rankings just before we went on the air an hour and a half ago. And I'm looking at it, and I was doing the same thing. I'm looking at him there at 6. Then I kind of moved him down to 8. And I'm like, well, I can't really justify those guys going ahead of him. But I could also see him being as low as 10-ish, where Okada, that's not outside the realm of possibility for me at all. I don't hate that. I'm not going to sit here and be like, that's a hot take and it's blasphemy, sir. Explain yourself. No, I totally get where Okada's coming from, and I thought about doing the same thing. But it was so tough to devalue that talent so much because he is such a good quarterback. He's so rare. He has that improv ability like Russell Wilson does, a little bit of flash what we saw out of Kyler Murray. Patrick Mahomes is great at that, somehow magically escape and then hit someone 40 yards down the field on the sideline. It's there. The wide receiver concerns are very real and very scary for me, but I couldn't move that talent that far down. I just have to think they're going to find a way somehow to make enough happen for him to sustain this, for him to somehow get the most out of the people that are around him. Maybe it's throwing the ball 100 times to David Johnson. I don't know.
I was going to say,
that's the only saving grace. Only saving grace is the running backs.
I think that it's important that anyone who ranks Deshaun Watson highly, 6, tells me what pass catcher is going to be a huge value in fantasy drafts. I do think David Johnson is going to be a huge value and will keep him at 10 instead of lower. But if you have him at 6, you got to tell me, because he's not going to rush for 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. He might have a decent rushing year, but not that
Maybe
good.
he does.
I mean,
I don't think
the last 2 years, he's rushed for 5 and 7 touchdowns and 550 and 413 rushing yards. So that's doable. And that's why I have him this high. He's a game changer. He's a game breaker. He's a winner. He's going to figure it out. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, yes, he is fantastic. He's elite. He elevates his quarterback, no doubt about it. I won't argue any of those points. And that's why I don't have Deshaun Watson in my top 4. But I think he figures it out. And let's not forget, guys, I'm concerned about Brandon Cook's concussion history, but besides last year, every single season, the dude just puts up 1,000 yards and no one even everyone just discounts it, right?
He could easily put up 1,000. It could happen.
Yeah. So I think Deshaun Watson figures it out. And I will say again, I like to reference this study from a good friend of the show, Kyle Borgognoni. I can't ever say his name, of the Ballers, their editor. He did a research study looking at when a wide receiver leaves a team, where do the targets go? They go to the running back. So massive, massive, massive target share up for grabs. Duke Johnson and David Johnson, I think, are going to get a lot more targets this year than they did last year. So I definitely agree with the value there for sure in those guys.
I totally think that it could be Watson. I do think this is the year that Watson tops 500 rushing yards. Because I think those broken plays, I think those Basically they've got all deep wide receivers, right? When they're running Madden 4 verts on the outside and the play breaks down because the offensive line is hot garbage and he scrambles out and he looks and DeAndre Hopkins isn't there, I think he's going to tuck it. I think he's going to tuck it and scramble and pick up a first down. And I think he's going to do that enough to elevate the rushing ability.
I hope he stays healthy.
Yeah.
Me too.
Also key. Fellas, you know what's going to help you stay healthy this year? I know. If you're not, if you're not watching on YouTube, pause the podcast, get on your phone or get on the computer, pull up YouTube, fast forward to about minute 40. Jon is currently eating a product from the sponsor of tonight's show, and that is Nuts and More, as Okada is. This past week, we all three got a nice gift in the mail from our friends at Nuts and More. Delivered right to our door, a care package. Almond butters, peanut butters, travel snack packs, which these people are eating live on the screen. Guys, the flavors are unreal. We were talking about it. Okada and I were texting yesterday just about how good this was. I've already said enough about how much I love this product.
Oh my gosh.
Jon, tell the people, man. Tell them how good it is.
This is freaking delicious. I'm not this is no hyperbole here. So this is dark chocolate and 65% cacao. Cacao. And it's a peanut butter. So basically, this is a Reese's.
Yep.
It is exactly what this tastes like.
But healthy.
Reese's is not a sponsor, so Reese's, you should be. It's a healthy Reese's. This is ridiculous. It's one packet of this is 180 calories. 10 grams of healthy fats, which I'm fine with because only 2 that's saturated. Carbs 9, pretty low, but again, healthy sources of carbs because these are all natural ingredients and all delicious. 11 grams of protein just packed into this little pouch. Like post workout, your drive home. Yeah, like this is fantastic. This is legit, really delicious. Like it's dessert.
Yeah, I like the travel packs because you can just like pack them if you're going to work or something. Like if I'm going into the office, I'll just throw a few in my bag. I'm good to go. So yes, we love this product. You guys should too. The link to buy the product is in the podcast description as well as on YouTube. If you're listening on your podcast app and you want to write it down or go in your phone and go in there, it's nutsandmore.com/REF equals red shirts. Use the code red shirts and save yourself some money, guys. Save 10% when you order with our link and with our code. Seriously, you will not be disappointed.
Before we move on.
Yes.
Okada, what was the math that you did on these?
Oh, yes. So most of these packs, depending on the flavor, have 11 grams of protein. And if you buy the big packs that have of one kind of flavor, you figure out the flavor you like, which you can do by getting the variety packs and then try them out. You end up getting, if you eat 2 packs, which is what, like, if you need a nice chunky meal, you're probably going to go for 2 packs. That's still only $3, and it's 22 grams of protein, which is cray-cray.
Yeah, it's delicious.
And if you save 10% with code REDSHIRTS, that's only $2.70 for 22 grams. That's like
crazy.
Yeah, that's like barely more than 10 cents per gram of protein. Big maths. Go get some Nuts and More.
Yeah, for real.
I want all of our listeners to just like bookmark this page on YouTube, this episode. We're going to be eating Nuts and More for like a year. Come back next year. We're going to be so freaking strong. So strong. Man, love that product. All right, guys.
That's so good.
On to our next quarterback here in the consensus ranks. It is Josh Allen. He comes in at our 7th quarterback, and he comes in at an ADP of QB7. So we're right there with the people. Fellas, what's there to say about Josh Allen? We know what he is, right? He is sometimes terrifying, sometimes erratic, sometimes unpredictable. But man, is he good for fantasy because he runs the ball, and he just added Stephon Diggs. I don't have much else to add. Safe, reliable. The rushing floor is there. Like him a lot.
Yeah, Josh Allen, unless he suddenly develops a Aaron Rodgers arm, is in a similar vein to Russell Wilson in that he's going to be a guy who is going to finish between 8 and 5, maybe. I would probably say 8 and 6, and nowhere else. I don't think he's going to be the QB1, and I don't think there's any way he's not a QB1 unless he gets hurt. It's just reliable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so far, our consensus rankings are exactly my rankings, which is slightly concerning. But this is right. This is right where I have him. For the same thing, the rushing ability gives him such a safe floor. Another quarterback that punches in a good amount of rushing touchdowns also contributes that as a nice little nugget to his game. The accuracy issues are real. It kind of reminds me a little bit, not to the same extent, but very similar in a way to prime and healthy Cam Newton in what he gives you for fantasy football. Like, there were legitimate accuracy concerns. Now, granted, Josh Allen's accuracy has gotten better since year 1. This was year 2. It was improved. Good to see. I like seeing that. It's still not great, but it's nice to see him making strides in that. Maybe year 3 with a better wide receiver in Stephon Diggs, we see his accuracy and completion percentage increase even more. But the rushing ability, the straight up athleticism, the go get it mentality, has no problem kind of putting his body on the line a little bit, like for a touchdown or for a first down. Kind of concerning slightly for a potential injury risk question, but Josh Allen's just a baller that goes out there, finds a way to get first downs, lead his team down the field, and get touchdowns. And I expect him to take another step forward in year 3 with Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs and John Brown is a really, really good wide receiver duo. Like, probably top 10 to 12 duo in the NFL. Somewhere along those lines. John Brown just sneaky underrated every single year, but is going to continue to ball. And they've got a young tight end in Dawson Knox that I think could potentially take some steps forward and provide a nice safety blanket for him. We'll see if they decide to utilize their both like downhill running backs as wide receivers. I don't know. Zach Moss makes no sense to me. Like, it was just more of the same. I don't get it. Get someone that can catch. But I still think that the ability that he has in his rushing ability gives him such a safe floor. Top 8 should be about his floor, and top 5 is his ceiling.
Yep, I think we all agree on that. Matt Ryan, next quarterback on the list here. Again, he's our quarterback 8. He's going off the board at quarterback 8. But guys, I feel like I want to move him higher.
Same.
I want to, but I can't because these names are just so locked in. But we've talked about it a ton, so we don't need to really, go into a ton of detail. We talk about it all the time. This defense is extremely questionable. If Todd Gurley can't hold up, Matt Ryan is going to have to chuck the ball 650 times this year. He's got Julio. He's got Calvin Ridley. Hayden Hurst is interesting at the tight end position. But, man, Matt Ryan just year after year leads, or at least comes close to leading the league in pass attempts. I think it happens again this year. I don't have much else to add except for the fact that I wish I could get him higher in this ranking list. And I like targeting him in my 8th, 9th round of the draft. If I can get him as my quarterback, I love that.
I mean, apparently I have the secret, so let me just let you in on it, Betz, because I have him at 6, and all you have to do is put Deshaun Watson and Josh Allen behind him, and there you go. You've got him at 6. Yeah. That's what I have, and I am very, very happy with it. He's the first quarterback outside that tier of 5 that John talked about, where we know we like all those guys locked in there. Matt Ryan's the guy for me after that and has the ability to get into that tier.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't hate that at all, Okada. I honestly might adjust my rankings after this show and move him to 6 and slide the other 2 down 1. It could happen. I think that if there's a quarterback that you should bet money on to lead the league in passing yards this year, it's Matt Ryan. Like, to me, he could throw for 4,800 to 5,000, I think, so easily this year because of the game script, because of the weapons that he has available. Everything is lined up there for him to just have to sling it all over the yard every single week. Plays in the dome, plays against the NFC South. It's there. It was hard for me to move him up because I feel like we've seen some consistency issues, and I feel like he let people down a lot this last season. So I think that was just a little bit of kind of recency bias in my mind that was upsetting. But then I remembered that it's an even year, and he's going to be the MVP candidate again this year because it's 2020 instead of 2019. I think that he's being slept on a crazy amount. And that's the thing that's funny. Everyone is so hyped on Calvin Ridley and so hyped on Julio Jones, but they're not hyped on Matt Ryan. I'm like, you know that he's the one giving them the targets, right? Like, that's kind of how that works. If you're hyped on the wide receivers, you should probably be hyped on the quarterback too. But he's just being slept on. Yeah. We've talked about it. We have talked about that, and he's made his way up my boards as well. I probably need to reconsider, honestly.
I don't think.
Not in our QB1s. No, he's just outside it for me right now. But he's kind of flirting with that for me. So, yeah, Matt Ryan to me is a sneaky good value. I like him a lot.
Yeah, the other thing, too, real quick, and we'll just move on, is like his game splits. It doesn't make any sense because most quarterbacks actually perform better when they're winning. He performs better when they're losing. And I think they're going to be losing a lot of games this year. So, I want all the Matt Ryan. I just talked myself into it. I'm moving above Josh Allen in my ranks.
Let's go.
Yeah. Live update on the show. Yes. Give me all the Matt Ryan this year. All right. Matthew Stafford comes in at quarterback 9 in our ranks. Now, this is where it's interesting because he is the quarterback 13 in ADP. He is Okada's quarterback 7. John and I have him at 12. So, Okada, back to you, man. What gives here? Why do you have Stafford so high?
All right, Betz. Are you ready for this? Bum, 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 bum. I wasn't ready for this. All right. Here's the thing. I had a Matthew Stafford bold prediction for the bold prediction show with Jason Moore, and then I didn't get to say it because Mike Wright jumped onto our show and we had to split up our bold predictions.
Classic.
And what it was that he was going to have a career year in fantasy and finish as a top 5 quarterback. Now, the reason that's super hot is because his career year right now in 2011 was 5,038 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 16 picks. It was massive. 343 fantasy points. So I said to myself, how could he get to 345 and set a career year? I'll tell you how he could get to 345. 4,998 yards, 38 touchdowns, 10 picks, and a few more rushing yards. 132 to be exact. Would you like to know what those numbers are? They're his projected numbers from last year based on his half of a season. Exactly what it would take to be a career year. And if he finished with 345 fantasy points, there's no way he's not a top 5 quarterback. Listen, this defense was bad last year. It got worse. They lost Darius Slay, who was their best player. The Kenny Golladay-Marvin Jones duo is balling. Kenny Golladay is only going to get better. TJ Hawkinson, young, highly drafted tight end, likely to get better as well. Tight ends don't break out as rookies ever. So he's gonna improve. And they added DeAndre Swift. To a Kerryon Johnson pass-catching running back duo now that is going to be very, very productive as well. This offense is going to chug, and the defense is not, and Matthew Stafford is going to have to throw the ball a lot. Among the guys that could lead the league in pass attempts, I think Matt Ryan's there, I think Dak Prescott is there, and I think Matthew Stafford is there. And as long as Golladay and Jones step up, and they have touchdown upside, potentially more touchdown upside than any duo, maybe even more than the Buccaneers. Their touchdown upside is insane. If he can be a guy who crunches close to 40 touchdowns. So I am all in on Matthew Stafford. QB7 should tell you everything you need to know. Yes. The guy I'm coming away with in every draft because his ADP just makes this ranking even more delicious. Like nuts and
the ADP is, love that. Yes. Nice. The ADP is fantastic for Stafford because I did a couple best balls like in the last week, and I got him in both of them at the 11th round. And at that price, it's not even a question. You take Matthew Stafford because he has top 5 upside, like Okada's maybe suggesting it's there in his ceiling, but you're getting quarterback 1 if he stays on the field. And by the way, I just want to touch on that. Last year missed time because of the fractures in his back. I don't have a concern about that. We talked about it with Carson Wentz the year prior. He came out, played 16 games. Matthew Stafford's going to be fine. I have full confidence in his health this year. So, yes, we're all in on Matthew Stafford. We like him a lot. Some more than others, but we still like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I've got Stafford at 12. I love everything that Okada is saying. I just couldn't justify the other guys being below him.
That's
I think that Stafford is my favorite value at quarterback. Hands down.
Question.
No question. My favorite value at quarterback because you're going to be able to get him 3 to 4 rounds later than these other guys, which is just ridiculous. So he's all of our favorite value, but these other guys I think have a higher floor kind of built in, because I could see a realm of possibility where Stafford's floor is lower. Like if everything is just completely falling off the bus, if the defenses don't have to pay attention to the run game because Kerryon Johnson's hurt again and DeAndre Swift isn't, getting it done on the ground with that offensive line, and the defenses can just be like, okay, well, we're just going to drop 7 into coverage like every time. I could see a realm of possibility where his statistics take a little bit of a step backwards. I don't see it happening. I like him a lot. Again, I love his value there, but I think the guys that I have ranked above him, I just feel better about and think that some of them have a higher ceiling than Stafford does as well.
All righty. On to number 10, and I'm going to be on the hot seat for this one, guys. It's Aaron Rodgers. We've talked about it actually quite a bit already, so I don't know how much detail we need to go into, because I know that you guys buy into him as just being a very, very good quarterback, and I'm not going to argue. He is one of the best of all time. But there's a man named Matt LaFleur at head coach, and I do not like what he is doing to this offense. Aaron Rodgers comes in as our quarterback 10, QB 12, and ADP. So consensus-wise, as a podcast, we're higher. You guys are, in that realm. So I'm way lower, man. Guys, just look at the splits. Like 2018, before Matt LaFleur got there, the tempo was higher. The pass attempts were higher. The offense in general was pushing the ball downfield. They take AJ Dillon in the second round. Like, you can tell me that he's pissed off.
A single wide receiver. Not a one.
You can tell me he's mad and he's got a fire under his butt and he's going to come out and set the league on fire. And I kind of agree with that narrative, but like, Allen Lazard is his wide receiver too. So I don't know. I'm stuck. Like, I still think Rodgers is good, but man, his weapons are not. And I think this team is just honestly going to be less efficient as a play calling unit, so to speak. And I think it hurts Rodgers. So I've got him at what? Quarterback. Let me pull it up.
13.
I've got him at.
You better not end in the team. I will slap you upside the face.
Oh, where is it? 16. I've got him.
Oh, gee, many Christmas bets.
We've already made a Betz bet on this, right?
We have. Yes, we have.
Okay, good. Here's my question for you, Betz.
What was the Betz bet? Pull that up.
14
and a half.
Okay. Betz,
money.
If you have to pick one of these two, which is it? He gets a little bit better or he gets a little bit worse than last year? The LaFleur downtick that we saw last year. Fantasy quarterback.
I think it's a little bit worse.
Okay. He was QB9 last year. I don't see how he gets much worse.
You weren't expecting that answer?
No, I wasn't, because he had a very low touchdown rate for him. I think if anything's going to regress for him, it's going to come back up, that touchdown rate, and the weapons didn't change. He still has doo-doo second receivers after Devontae Adams, but that's the same, and he was QB9 last year.
That's where you're wrong, Okada, because his wide receiver 2 is Aaron Jones. His wide receiver 2 is fantastic.
There you go.
Fantastic. And he's so good at catching passes in the red zone, too. So I love me some Aaron Jones. I love me some Devont Bay. Maybe it's Jace Sternberger's season. But how dare you slander the Lazard thing, by the way. I think that Lazard... No, I think he's
a wide receiver 3 quality player. He's fine.
I'm kind of with Betz on that one.
I agree with that, but there's something to be said about when Aaron Rodgers likes a guy.
There is. It means he's going to throw the ball to that guy. It doesn't necessarily mean that guy is going to be good.
I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be fine. I'll take a late round dart throw on Allen Lazard. I'll do that. But I think that, a big body frame, what's he, 6'4", 6'5"? I think he's 6'4". And Aaron Rodgers just keeps talking about him. Just keeps talking about how he likes Allen Lazard and how he shows up and the work that he puts in. And if Aaron Rodgers likes a guy, that says something. He's going to get his chances. I think that he'll be a fine complementary piece. Listen, I'm with you on the Matt LaFleur narrative, but I kind of think that Aaron Rodgers is just going to tell LaFleur to stick it up his cram hole and just cram it up his cram hole, LaFleur, and just do kind of whatever he wants. Like, he's going to go to the line and check out of the run play and just throw a play action pass over the middle. So I like Aaron Rodgers. I think that he absolutely is out for revenge after the NFL draft. And a motivated Aaron Rodgers is a really scary thing. Like it's really, really scary thing.
I feel like he should set a pass attempts minimum that he will hold out if they don't promise him. Oh, you want to draft Jordan Love? Fine. You go ahead and start Jordan Love then. I'm sitting on the bench.
That would be really funny. It'd be like, I need a pass to rush ratio of 55 to 45, please. Minimum.
Oh, man. It's so sad. Like, I just want to see Aaron Rodgers just like if honestly, if Matt LaFleur wasn't head coach, I'd be with you guys. It's just I have serious concerns about him. We talked about him quite enough though.
Okay, but hold on. I need a like speculation what if for the future, right? Because we're all concerned about New Orleans with Drew Brees. What if they trade Aaron Rodgers to New Orleans?
Oh, what's it gonna take?
Like after this next season?
No, I would not even take 2 first if it's after this season. I don't think
after this season, Aaron Rodgers
38, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it takes 2 first to get a guy that old.
But they do like a Tom Brady thing.
Yes, or a Brett Favre, which is what happened exactly when Aaron Rodgers came into the league. I could totally see that. And if Michael Thomas is still around, sign me up.
Yeah,
you throw him down there in New Orleans, and then you have Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in the same division.
Oh, yes, I'm here for it, man.
It's just speculation, but it was too fun to think about.
I like it. All right, guys, last two will be a little bit quicker on these. Carson Wentz comes in as our quarterback 11. He's going off the board at the 9th quarterback spot. I have him at 10. John's at 10. Okada, you are a hater. 16.
I am a hater.
Haterade.
Tell us. John and I are just like in lockstep right now. You're just we
really are. There. Yeah, you and
Why are you so low on my boy Wentz?
Because his receiving core is crap. It is legitimately worse than the Ravens. Yes, he has Zach Ertz, who's getting up there. I think he's still all right. And yes, he has Miles Sanders, who is a good pass-catching running back. But other than that...
Dallas Goedert.
What do you mean?
He's a solid tight end. He's not a good... They have no one to be a dog. They have no one to carry this team.
Jalen Reagor.
They got a bunch of deep threats and a bunch of rookies with speed. It is a hot mess. And we talked last pod about, we tried to, and then we kind of got sidetracked by Mike Wright, about Brandon Brooks. That injury is not going to help Wentz from any number of directions. It's going to make the offense work. It's going to make the running game less effective, which is going to make the passing game less effective. It's going to mean he gets sacked more, hit more, less time. I don't like it. There's a lot of... Listen, if you asked me in a vacuum, where would I put Carson Wentz? Just off the top of my head, I probably would have said somewhere around 12 or 13. But there's enough depth, there's enough veteran QB talent that I have ranked ahead of him that I'm just not interested. Nope, pass. Hard pass for me.
Day in mind. He was quarterback 9 last year with Greg frickin' Ward. And you just told me Aaron Rodgers was a top 10 quarterback last year, and he didn't get better at the weapon position. So how is this any different? And by the way, Carson Wentz, more mobile than Aaron Rodgers. I think you're absolutely nuts, Okada. I love you, man, but you're nuts. Carson Wentz, dude, he played out of his mind last year. And now you get deep threats to open up the field. Both tight ends, legit. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think their number is just too bad.
I think that Jalen Reagor is actually going to be something. I really enjoy Jalen Reagor. I think that Jalen Reagor could have 80 catches this season. I think it's entirely possible that happens. I think they're going to be running a lot of 12 personnel, and you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets, and you're going to see a lot of a lot of Carson Wentz. Just for what I feel about Seattle, for what it's worth, they're going to be doing the same thing. But I feel like Carson Wentz is going to have a lot of opportunities with the 2 tight end sets, with dumping it off to the running backs, with speed guys, bubble screens, stuff like that. This could be one of the teams that leads the league. Like I would be shocked if they're not top 5 in yards after the catch. I think that Philly is going to be one of those teams where you're going to get the ball to Jalen Reagor on the line of scrimmage, and he's going to take it for 25 yards. Like this could be one of those teams like a San Francisco where what they're able to kind of manufacture and get out of it outside of the actual just pure passing ability of Carson Wentz, which is way better than Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think that what they're going to manufacture for the skill players that they have on that team is going to help buoy him up there into the low end quarterback 1 range. I had him at 10, which I think is completely fair for him. He somehow manages to finish there with, whatever weapons he has every single year, whether it's banged up Deshaun Jackson or banged up Alshon Jeffrey or whatever it's going to be. I just think like he's got enough in the tank and enough weapons around him to overcome that a little bit.
Yeah. Okada, you're wrong. Sorry, dude. On to quarterback 12. Baker Mayfield comes in at our 12 quarterback ADP of quarterback 15. So again, a little bit higher here than on consensus ranks or ADP, so to speak. Guys, I'm the low one on Baker. And honestly, I wish I had a better explanation for this, because you guys have heard on the podcast me say all the time he excels in play action. Stefanski runs play action. He's got Odell. He's got a new up-and-coming tight end. He still has David Njoku as his tight end, too. His good pass catcher. Kareem Hunt. Nick Chubb. We said all this stuff last year. Jarvis Landry. We said all of it last year, so it's still true. Honestly, there's nothing I can say that
right. Where are you at, bro?
Above him, I just prefer a little bit more. So I don't know why he's this low in my ranks. It's because I prefer Jared Goff. It's because I prefer Drew Brees. I prefer Daniel Jones. That's really the only reason why. So my ranking looks bad, but the quarterback position, once you get outside of the top 12, like it's like 12 to 20 is just a huge tier for me. So that's where I'm at. I still love the guy. I just couldn't put him any higher.
I mean, the fact that you are ranking Daniel Jones, who has Darius Slayton as his wide receiver 1, above Baker Mayfield should tell you why you're in this situation. That is straight goofy.
Dude, did you not listen to the last podcast?
I did, and I didn't
agree
with you. Yes.
Where do you have Baker ranked, Okada?
Right here, 12.
Oh, so I'm high man on the totem pole.
There's only one guy that we haven't talked about that I have ahead of Baker Mayfield.
Interesting.
Who's that, Jared Goff?
It is Jared Goff. He's my QB 11.
Gerf.
Spoiler alert.
Gerf.
There it is. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Browns offense in general, right? Like, it's not a matter of can he be good. I think he can be good. I think he can crush where I have him ranked. But like I said, I want Drew Brees over him. I want Jared Goff over him. It's just the names that are there. It's like I can't put him any higher.
Well, you can, and I did. So
where do you have him, John?
8.
Ooh, wait!
I've got Baker at 8.
I like it.
I think that Baker Mayfield, when he gets out from underneath Freddie Kitchens, the guy that comes over and tries to dab him up on the sideline and walks away, and he goes, "I hate that guy." Like, gets out from underneath
awesome.
Freddie Kitchens. That was amazing. I love that clip so much. But I think that Baker, we all expected him last year to be just absolutely absurd in his second season, coming in, gets Odell. He was a top 5 dynasty quarterback in the offseason, and it didn't work. Now I think things are going to calm down a little bit. I think that his kind of swagger got a little bit away from him last season. I think he got a little bit of an inflated head and inflated ego, and kind of let that kind of murky things up. I think what we're seeing now is him going, okay, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to play football, because he's already said that he's like cutting way down on the commercials that he did from last season, which he was on every single commercial.
Thank goodness for all of us, by the way.
Right. I don't need that much Baker on my TV. Him like with the little dustbuster in the stadium. Like I don't need.
I must have seen that commercial like 300 times.
Right. He goes and then starts vacuuming. But anyways, so we have Baker Mayfield, who, of any of the quarterbacks that I have in this tier and the people that I have just above him, I'm still a little bit concerned. I still have question marks. Like, I think that his floor could be a little bit lower, but his ceiling is higher.
I think we lost him, man.
Can we screenshot this, please? Oh my gosh, that was murderous.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Oh my god, the screenshot that I just got is fantastic.
Are we?
Oh my gosh, did you get this one? Because this one's even better.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. We'll edit this out there.
Ring, ring, hello.
I think we lost him, man.
We lost John. John, if you can hear us, disconnect and reconnect.
Testing.
Oh, yes.
Bueller.
Yes.
Bueller. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Your
Can't wait to see
video
the
is
screenshots.
terrible, but
You look like a fart.
you look like a fart.
I can't wait to see the screenshots that Betz was taking because I could hear you guys the entire time. So I don't know
You'll
what
see
was
him.
going on there.
I'm
excited.
If you were saying something super important, you may want to re-say it because we don't know when it ended, and so we didn't respond to it.
All right, hold on. Can you guys see and hear me? Okay.
I mean, the video is pretty bad, but we can hear you good.
Okay.
Well,
so I'm gonna go back.
Well,
a little bit. So
the floor is lower, is what you were talking about.
Yes. Okay. Baker Mayfield has a lower floor, and there are some question marks. There's a new head coach that's coming into town, a new scheme. We always, you can't always predict exactly how that's going to work out, and kind of the learning curve for the entire offense that's trying to get a handle of the playbook, trying to learn the language, get on the same page. But I do think that Baker Mayfield has a higher ceiling than 4 or 5 of the last quarterbacks that we've talked about. If everything goes right in this offense, if they are on the same page, you've got another year of chemistry with Odell recovering from his injury from last season. You have Jarvis Landry. He has the top to bottom a top 3 talent offense around him. It's Kansas City, it's probably Dallas, and then it's probably Cleveland for the most talented offensive weapons
around
in the NFL.
Quarterback.
Around the quarterback. Not including Baker because he's not quite there. He needs to put some stuff together. But the skill players around him, Odell, Jarvis Landry, they just brought in Hooper. They have David Njoku, who's still physically talented, and maybe he'll be something. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But then you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield. The skill players on this offense it's absolutely loaded. And this is kind of the year to me where it's dude, you need to put up or shut up. You have this offense around you, in your 3rd season now. It's time to do something with it. I think that the ceiling for him is top 5 fantasy finish. If he puts it all together, if the completion percentage is better, if they understand the offense, if they're doing everything right, if Odell looks like prime and healthy Odell, he could easily be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. So his ceiling is higher and his floor is lower. So he's got a bigger range than some of the other quarterbacks that we've talked about. But I'm optimistic about the Cleveland offense bounce back this year.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. I think, like I said, I think we all like the bounce back for sure. It's just tricky because after the QB1s, it's pick your flavor. Who do you like? Who do you think has more upside? Which tells you the strategy in drafts. Wait on quarterback. Take a Matt Ryan. Take a Matt Stafford. Take a Baker Mayfield. Take a Tom Brady. Don't take one of the top 4 quarterbacks. Even though we love these dudes, the value in your draft doesn't make sense. But it's good to put some context into it. Talk about the team. Talk about range of outcomes. All that good stuff. Fellas, another fantastic show. Follow Okada at Matt Okada. Follow me at The Fantasy PT. Follow John at Dynasty Beard. The show is at Retroots FF Pod. And guys, go get some nuts and more. So good in the podcast description. Check that out. We are back next week. Final point, Okada, hit me.
Yes, I would like to leave the viewers and listeners with this very important fact that relates to Baker Mayfield because it's, I think, very important for them all to understand how important and viable drafting Mitch Trubisky is. He had more fantasy points in his 2nd year than Baker did with far less weapons in 2 fewer games.
Okay.
No.
We're going to edit that out.
I don't know. You guys tell me what you want. I'm just saying.
Nope.
No. Shut up.
This is
All right.
Step
You're
Brothers.
wrong.
That's just facts. I'm just giving you facts.
This is Step
I don't
Brothers
like
when
your
Will
facts. They
Ferrell's
don't
laying.
support my narrative.
Yeah, when Will Ferrell's laying on the couch, and he just says, "Nope."
Nope,
That's the
not
gift
even
right
if
now.
there's a fire.
Yeah. Oh man, fellas, we're back to record on Friday for our podcast that drops on Monday. Let's talk quarterback sleepers in that show. We're going to talk about guys outside of our top 12, maybe some guys that we'll target late in our drafts. We'll find out. It's going to be fun. Until then, we're the Red Shirts.